Welcome to the Coastside Fire Protection District Board of Directors regular board meeting, October 26, 2022. Roll call, please, Gene.
Director Cockrell.
Here.
Director McKimmey.
Here.
Director Sherrill. Director Stockman.
Here.
President Burke.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any members of the public who would like to make any comments or statements at this time?
Oh, can you actually say that? Hold on one sec, President Burke. Can you say that one more time?
Are there any members of the public who would like to make any comments at this time? Hearing none, I'll close the public session and move on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? And I'll note that Director McKimmey is asked to be recused from voting on the consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Cynthia made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Gene.
Director Cockrell.
Yes.
Director Sherrill. Director Stockman.
Yes.
President Burke.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
Director McKimmey recused.
We just make a note for the public that on the consent calendar, which is approved, are all our financial documents for the month. They are public documents available for anyone to pursue, but every single check that is written by this district is recorded here and taken a look at if anybody would like to analyze it. Thank you. Moving on to new business item 6, a resolution finding that the board of directors via teleconferencing protect against ongoing imminent health and safety risks posed by COVID-19, determine that all such meetings will continue to be held in hybrid format to allow attendance in person or remote pursuant to government code section 54953 parentheses E. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-64.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And again, this is a boilerplate. It's something we have to do every single, or have to do for the time being every single month. There's nothing new on it at all. Any comments or discussion?
Could we review, we talked about it earlier, but that it looks like this will be changing. The council has addressed that that in the future, by January, it looks like we'll be expected to do it a different way, possibly. There'll be some hybrid, but there'll be an expectation of directors to be present at meetings, or at least go back to the way it was prior to COVID.
I assume from what I know, Gene, that you will be providing us with some kind of direction as to what we'll be facing, what we'll need to do in January. Is that correct?
Yes, I will. We will continue in the same fashion for November and December, and in January you will need to make a decision how you want to go forward, because the governor has indicated the declaration of emergency will be lifted in the beginning of February.
Yes.
So yes, I will be providing you with a memo.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Roll call, please, Gene.
Director Cockrell.
Yes.
Director McKimmey.
Yes.
Director Sherrill.
Yes.
Director Stockman.
Yes.
President Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Moving on to item D, first reading and introductions of ordinance 2022-03 and ordinance adopting the California Fire Code 2022 edition and prescribing regulations governing conditions hazardous to life, property, and environment from fire, panic, explosion, and hazardous materials and hazardous uses, and establishing a Bureau of Fire Protection and providing officers therein. Chief Cox.
That rolls right off the tongue.
It does.
For this one, I'm actually going to pass it to our Deputy Fire Marshal, Patrick.
So yes, obviously every 3 years, there's a code update for the fire code. We then in our office take a look at it, review, compared to what we have as an ordinance within COSAC. Make any adjustments needed and any corrections to what we've been doing in the past to try and streamline it, not only for our office, but for the public, to make it an easier process for them going forward. So we have today the first draft of that ordinance with reviews or revisions, excuse me.
How many more binders is there than 3 years ago?
A whole new set of every, we get everyone in the building code.
Right, but they're adding to them, right? There's more. each year.
It's just a new binder with all the updates within it for each binder is based on the every 3-year code cycle. So we
Right.
have our
But it used to be
1922.
one binder, now it's a dozen.
There's a lot of binders, yes.
When we talk about, when the board and you, the staff does a wonderful job of talking about the impacts of how the community's changing, its growth, the man hours required to stay at our obligations. Is there any changes in the fire code this year or this revision that staff sees an impact on man hours and the ability to keep up? Is there any ask?
Specific to the fire code, no.
Right.
I think just based on development within the county,
Right.
moving forward still.
Right.
Under the current conditions, we're just really, really busy.
Yeah,
A lot of building going on,
yeah,
but specific to the code, no.
okay, thank you.
President Burke, Sid does have a hand up.
Sid, you have a question?
Yes, I do. And it may not apply to the fire code, but it might. I attended the recent candidate forum down in the Half Moon Bay Library. One of the candidates said that the way to help with emergency evacuation would be to use the fire roads. So I don't know if Chief Cox agrees with that, because in my mind, the fire roads just kind of are there in the middle of forest and wildland to, help the fire suppression people get up into fight fires. But, I've long been advocating for the coast side to have better emergency egress to get the hell out of Dodge if there's a big fire like we had in 2020 on the South Coast. So I don't know if Chief Cox could answer this, but with the higher density and proposed new housing element, just seems like we're going to have more and more traffic. And I wondered if there's any big plan for a better emergency evacuation. Is this the right time? Is that part of the fire code?
A good question, Sid. It is not a part of the fire code. The fire code is actually a part of the building code, which is why it gets updated every 3 years in conjunction with the building code. When you talk about land use planning and access roads, that actually defers to county planning. The trouble you get into with fire roads is those are private property, and it's not a public right of way that people can just go through at their own direction. So this is the separate item. This is when someone builds a house, they send their plan to Pat's office, and Pat reviews them to make sure that a fire engine can get within 150 feet. It has sprinklers, it's got the right materials, and the whole litany of the 12 binders that they have to know the code.
And that includes the turnaround access for big trucks too, right?
Yes, it does, specific to, based on the distance from the main right of way to the house. Within the code, it can, in Appendix D, trigger the need for a turnaround for the fire engine, but that's dynamic based on each project with which we review.
Well, I guess my big concern, and I know Chief Cox knows this is my thing, is that we really don't have, there's choke points getting off the coast if there's something really terrible happens. And I don't know if I know I've asked you back in January of 2020 at the Community Services Council meeting that if they were going to work on a plan for evacuation, but the higher the density, the more we're going to need it. I just wonder if there's anything progressing along those lines.
Yeah, so I can speak for the Emergency Services Council, which is the JPA that all cities and the county are a part of at the county level. And they've actually put funding towards a countywide evacuation plan, multi-hazard plan. I will put a caveat on that, which is there are not going to be any new ways off the coast, right? The infrastructure we have is the infrastructure we have. And I think that is long-term strategic land use planning versus what we deal with on a daily basis, which is development in the district.
So the plan the county has coming, whenever that will be, will they at least make it easier to get through the choke point of the eucalyptus grove on Devil's Slide, right north of the Tom Lantos Tunnel going down the hill to Pacifica?
I think that's what they're working to figure out, Sid,
Okay.
coming up with the plan. So I don't want to speak for them or make any projections. Just know that that is going on at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Is let's just say that, having spent an hour and a half on 92 last week, when an accident happened, I mean, I think it's thinking that you're gonna have some kind of a plan that's gonna work, and we're watching some kind of a disaster in the coast, I think is dreaming.
Yep,
I mean, by a boat.
exactly.
All right, that's enough of that. I have a question. A couple of things. First of all, I'm clearly not qualified to judge what these things are, but there are a number of items that are added here to the code that you added here. My question, nothing is removed.
Some of it might be updated based on the code section from the 2019 code.
Oh,
When they add or subtract, it moves the
Okay.
actual, let's say.
Is there anything in this, the document that we asked to approve, that is really different and notable and really one you'd like to call
So there's been an adjustment to align with the county building department on how we determine the need for fire sprinklers and additional alterations
Yeah.
of structures. Before is
Yeah.
based on a safety score that became convoluted. It was hard for people to interpret. There's the public or the building department. We're now going to a 50% rule. If you do 150% of work to your house, you'll have to update it with fire sprinklers. And that goes in line with a lot of other jurisdictions within the county and across the state.
out? Was there any discussion at all as to the impact, the cost impact of doing that versus getting new homes?
I think, well, the applicant's decision to go to an addition remodel as opposed to a new home,
Yeah.
it then brings them up to code. I think it'll actually be less financial impacted to the applicant than it was before, based on how the safety score was determined. And maybe it was applied to certain structures that maybe didn't need it as much as others did. So this kind of streamlines it.
Questions, comments?
Is the 50% rule applied to the square footage of the structure, or is it the cost of the renovation?
Square footage of the structure. And that is based on the building official for San Mateo County's revision that we're aligning with as well.
Any other comments or question? Gene, do we need a vote on this, the first reading?
Yes, you do. And then it will come on your next agenda for the public hearing and adoption.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance first reading of ordinance 2022-03?
So moved.
Second. So moved, second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call, please, Gene.
Director Cockrell,
Yes.
Director McKimmy,
Yes.
Director Sherrill,
Yes.
Director Stockman,
Yes.
President Burke. Ordinance is introduced by a vote of 5-0. Thank you.
Moving on to item C, discuss the canceling of November and December regular board meetings and rescheduling a special board meeting in November and December. And I just preface it by saying that we've done this each year because of the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays and typically the lack of business for the board during that period of time. Chief Cox?
Thank you. The suggestion was to have a special meeting on November 16th, Wednesday, the 16th, as well as December the 14th, in lieu of our regular meetings. The only other thing would be the December 14th meeting, making it a 1-hour special strategic plan meeting and then a 1-hour regular
Thank you. Those are the dates and the times. Now, preface to when is the open house?
The open house is the 12th.
12th, okay.
Yep.
I thought it was the same as 16th. So we have recommendations on November 16th and December 14th special meetings.
What meeting would be for swearing in our new board member?
It would have to be the 14th.
So it'd be the November meeting. Oh, no,
No,
it'd be
excuse me,
the
it would have to be no, it has to be after December 1st, so I think it would have to be the 14th. That would be our first meeting.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
December 14th.
Okay.
Any questions, comments?
Say again the time that we're looking at.
Yeah, November 16th at 4 p.m.
Yeah,
and then December 14th at 3 p.m. and 4 p.m.
I make a
Thank
motion-
you.
I make a motion to approve those 2 dates as expressed by Chief Cox. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Roll call, please, Gene.
Director Cockrell,
yes.
Director McKimmy,
Yes.
Director Cheryl,
Yes.
Director Stockman,
Yes.
President Burke,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Moving on to Board of Directors and Chief Reports, the Finance Committee. Finance Committee had a meeting earlier today, special meeting to review our investment policy, which has not been updated for a number of years. Discussion ensued in terms of what we might do, and a new or updated investment policy is going to be brought back to the board next month for a board consideration and vote. Other than that, the financial statements for the board for the first 3 months is in our packet. I looked at it. I not see anything unusual out of line. or anything else. But with that, we conclude my comments. JD, did you have any comments? Oh, he's on the phone. No, I guess not. That ends the Financial Committee report.
I'm back and I have no comments.
Okay. Volunteer Committee. Director-
I had the COVID, so I did not go.
Land and Structures Committee, Director Cockrell, Director McKinney.
Nothing new.
No report. Vegetation Management Committee, Director Stockman.
We have not had any further meetings, so I'll say no. I do think we need a little more forward thinking of where we're going to go. You know, we've had kind of a pause here, especially after the Resource District report. So maybe the committee can, whatever works to your schedule. And then in those any committee changes we're gonna make in the future, where Patrick's gonna fit in, we can talk about what committees he'll serve on, and perhaps he can be a part of that. I've mentioned several times that again, it's not within the district, but county parks, clearing out Quarry Park, doing the continuing vegetation removal and management of that. I'm in that park almost daily. I continue to be amazed at how much fuel they're taking out of there, especially on the boundaries, which I'm very, very thankful for. One idea I had that maybe we can discuss further in our meeting later is to have the community have a sense of what's happening up there. And if it's possible to use our new drones to kind of film that and go through some of those boundary edges and be able to put that within our website or share that with the community, whatever is the appropriate way of kind of using the new technology. We're deciding how it's going to fit into the district and use that to our benefit in education and updates. I'm anxious to talk to you about that later. Yes, please.
Special District Association, no report. ALS JPA liaison report, no report. Emergency Preparedness Liaison, Director Cheryl.
I'm gonna actually do that report this time, and unlike the last two meetings where I said I was going to and I didn't, and passed it back to Cynthia, I actually reviewed the notes of that. This one was kind of a special meeting. It was a key meeting of October 7th. And usually in those meetings, they have a presenter to educate the community on specific details. This one was unique because it was our retired Chief Cosgrave from the Department of Emergency Management spoke. And I think it's a good opportunity to talk about his new role and how it affects the district and the community as a whole. For clarification, that the new Department of Emergency Management used to be under the Sheriff's Office. Now it falls under the County Exec, which falls the County Exec and the County Board of Supervisors. And it receives direction from the Emergency Service Council and the JPA. Director, I guess we'll call him Director Cosgrave now, was says he spends about half of his time with all those partnership agencies, fire scope coordinators, RCD, fire, utilities, San Francisco watershed. You know, speaking to him personally, you know, he spends it. I think he's had an adjustment even from as busy as he was here. That there's a lot of conversations and meetings he has to attend. Again, for the community, that position is that Chief Cosgrave left the district for in retirement and went to that. Represents the unincorporated parts of the county. That's his title. Some of the current projects he shared was repairs to the tsunami sirens. And when it sounds like when they really got into that and visually looked at them, and they identified where the weaknesses there were in there, and those repairs have been made or being made. They're trying to improve the SMC alert system. And the other big project was evacuation protection with vegetation management. And Chief Cox just spoke to the public about that, of the process that's involved in that. There was a discussions. The discussion points were tsunami mapping and planning, Cal OES, Department of, I'm trying to read what I wrote here. The NOAA, they're trying to come up with worst case scenario plannings. And with the emphasis on the need to protect crucial infrastructure. And then also along with that is alerting the public through reverse 911 and being able to activate the sirens to their best use. The agency reports, one was Catherine Peary from KPDO, which is basically the South County radio station. They have a new antenna that will reach from Año Nuevo to Montera. So again, those are crucial, just like our KHMB will be another source for people to get information in emergencies. So we're strengthening the South Coast at the same time as Half Moon Bay is being covered. Thank you. Those are live broadcast 24/7, which is good to hear, and with some emphasis on bilingual messaging to their Hispanic community in the South County. DART was the next speaker. Marion Harris talked about the trailer at the airport, which we probably see every day, and having more identification of that's a DART trailer. There's been a mix of trailers out there. Identifying that specifically was good. And then she stated she was getting good feedback on the damage assessment flights. I think we've talked about that in past meetings where the private pilots will fly and be able to report back through HAM of what a damage assessment report outside of the resources that we have with our local agencies. South Coast CERT and La Honda Fire Brigade talked about a CERT grant to purchase containers for Red Cross supplies. And then they were setting up dates to move their supplies from where they currently have them into those trailers and make it more spread out through in the coast area. And then also their Type 5 engine is being outfitted right now, and they hope to have it in service by next fire season. Michael Lacana, who represents American Red Cross and CEC, talked about the Red Cross scheduling some shelter trainings. Again, a strong positive impact to our whole community, because we've seen in just our small disasters here on the coast, there's people need somewhere to go. There has to be volunteer participants to open those shelters, and sometimes they're just temporary shelters to give somebody a place to go before long-term sheltering can be done, but they're currently working on that. COVID, Red Cross was impacted by COVID, like all organizations and agencies, and they're kind of getting back to normal. And he talked about the numbers. There's been 40 or 50 volunteers to just this season's hurricanes. And then COPE, which is our Kenyatta Cove group. Again, more praise to them for them staying organized as a neighborhood, doing their monthly trainings. This month, they were talking about power outages and how to function within their community when that happens. And then also going to next month was going to be fire extinguishers. And then Chief Silva was also in attendance at that meeting. Thank you. And he talked about, shared about the 41 grand opening for November 12th. And we'll let the chief report on that in his chief's report. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Comments, questions? Moving on. Cert report, Director Cheryl.
Cert report. So I apologize if there's a little redundancy from earlier meetings, but we've hit a milestone as we come to the end of 2022, and that is we have grown from approximately 150 members on May 2nd, 2019, when we all came to this room, and you thankfully gave us unanimous consent to become recognized by the Coastside Fire Protection District as our fiscal sponsor. We've now exceeded 2,000 members. So it's been, we are grateful for this responsive community and for the most important thing, which is, we have a central training core operation that is centered here. Thank you very much. But our main exercise is to organize out in the neighborhoods so that each neighborhood could be resilient in the case of an emergency for between 48 hours and 3 weeks. That's their mission. And we started with 3 neighborhoods, and we have 32 altogether. And at the end of this training session in the middle of November, we will have 27 of those 32 underway. So that has been a big lift, but very proud of the leadership. It's grassroots, it's residents doing this, all with CERT leadership in each of these neighborhoods. Very, very happy about that. A lot of gratitude. In this next, so we'll talk about CERT in a second. During the month of October, Coastside CERT, people think, oh, look at all those volunteers. And they want to involve us with the various festivals that occur in this area. And this is festival season, so October has quite a few. So we've been learning our way. I mean, we are a disaster preparedness and response organization. That's what we do. Festivals, a little bit outside of our central mission. So we've been looking at how does it work for CERTs? How does it work for the community? We want to be of service, but we are not free labor for event organizers for whom we would be a convenience, and they don't have to pay for parking attendants or traffic control or whatever. So we've come up with we think, and we've tested it with organizers, a pretty good outline of here's what we need in order to successfully serve your event. And we don't do traffic management. We are trained to do it in our neighborhoods if there's an emergency or an accident in the neighborhood, but we will not do it at festivals. We're not parking attendants. So this is something that a number of other CERT organizations have done and have taken a little heat about, but we're not parking attendants. So this is something that has to be worked out through other sources or through the organizers. We do, however, a good job at health and safety tents, and we do a good job at education, where we bring our own equipment and we've got our own setup, and we will help anyone else who needs equipment or setup to do their own presentations there. So that's where we decided to find our niche in the local festivals. We served at the Mavericks Festival in this context. It was very successful for their first sort of reinvigoration of that food and
Food, music.
food, music, fish. It used to have a different name, and now they put it back in. It marks the beginning of the Mavericks big wave season, if perhaps the weather should work out and the wave should come. But they will always have this festival. There's a lot of video. It was very well attended with local food, and we were pleased to be a part of that. There was a Montera Music and Art Festival, which worked out very nicely. Chief Cosgrave's third annual Great Coastside Shakeout happens. If you're familiar with that, it is both an earthquake drill, which happens coastside wide. It's the only coastside wide earthquake drill, but it's also a radio communications drill where each neighborhood, which has its own FRS channels, are communicating amongst themselves for who participated in the earthquake exercise, and they're communicating through a net control in a neighborhood command post to their ham operator, who is then communicating to this room right here, the DOC, to let them know how many people from that neighborhood participated. We had 300 people this time from 13 different neighborhoods. It's been bigger in the past, quite frankly, but we wound up in the middle of a whole bunch of festival seasons, not to make an excuse, but the purpose of this is we have developed a network that works throughout the coastline so that no one, if they have an FRS radio in their house, is alone. They can use that radio on their channel in their neighborhood, communicate with ham operators who will communicate here to first responders and who can get them an answer back. Even if the news isn't all that great, at least they'll get an answer back. So it's that coastside network from the south side of the tunnels to Tanitas Creek. And actually we go beyond to La Honda, Pescadero, we have DART. So we have all these other multiple agencies, and we're working with Harvard. So working on that. We did not have a formal role in the Pumpkin Festival this year. Pumpkin Festival went great. We were thrilled to see the volunteer firefighters there who did play a big role. We were doing stuff at the library with kids' costumes, whatever. So that a little outside of our mission, but an awful lot of fun. So that's what we've been doing this past month, in addition to the neighborhood groups. For Fall Cert, which starts the first Zoom in preparation is tonight, we have 39 students and we have 29 CERT volunteers who come back to serve at the various teaching stations along with the volunteer firefighters, thank you very much, to help train the new CERTs. 39 is a big class. We have both Spring Cert and Fall Cert every year and we are very pleased. When we started, we did not have much diversity in our group, but we have worked hard and reached out. And we have 9 bilingual English Spanish students, and we have 2 bilingual Japanese English students, and we have several other languages represented. And that is what we were trying to do here to make Coastside CERT an inclusive community. We have trained 320 people this year. We had 250 come in through 5 advanced CERT training classes, all sold out, all held right here. And we will have by the middle of November, 70 new CERTs on the coastside, full-on certificated 24 hours training CERTs. So we are very pleased to have this program going on. It would never be possible without the support of the Coastside Fire Protection District.
Questions? Cynthia, thank you for your leadership and thank all the members of CERT for their participation. Well done. Very good.
Can I just make one comment of that the visibility of CERT as well as the fire district and CAL FIRE at that Pumpkin Festival. I was there both days and it was impressive that as I walked through that massive crowd, how visible this agency was. And not just by the big engines that everybody recognizes, but everybody in uniform mixed in those crowds. And I think what a wonderful visible sign to this community of the role that this agency plays in the community. I think it's very impressive, and I commend the staff for making that commitment of getting those crews spread out. I know the logistics of that and how challenging it is in those crowds. So just want to recognize that.
It was peaceful. Good
Right.
job, Kevin Gray.
Attorney's report,
No report, thank you.
fire marshal's report.
That'll be me. All right, quick update. Roughly, just stats wise, we're about 60 plus plans for the month. We had attendance at the Pumpkin Festival, inspected all tents, barricades, routes, and everything both days. We walked the entire festival, so we're out there as well. For big projects going on the coast side, Big Wave is still moving forward. Church Street broke ground behind Our Lady of the Pillar, so that one's moving. Pacific Ridge, I believe, was purchased. And phase 2 should begin shortly. That's 48 homes up just north of the high school there.
Wow.
And Cypress Point is going forward. It's in the planning phase right now. That's roughly 71 homes. And Hilltop Mobile Home Expansion is also moving forward as well. Right across from the Hilltop Market there, mobile home. And there is a 5-star luxury RV park going in down at the corner there, the Harbor Highway one, which will be about 40 to 50 spaces there as well. And that there's 4 office / apartments going in town. 2 of those are actually underway right now. The other 2 are in planning phase. So lots of big projects going on. In addition to all the basic addition remodels, ADUs, and everything else we have going.
Exciting times.
It is. It is.
Is that, one question, just as a neighbor, is that Hilltop Park extension? So is that gonna go from the eastern bound, is it gonna go east to that frontage road that goes to the back of the high school? Are they gonna fill in that space? Is that how it's being enlarged?
It's not gonna go that entire way, but it's gonna get close.
Okay,
Yeah, they're working on, there's still some discussion on that. Ingress egress, but otherwise it's pretty much straightforward. It's just adding on.
okay.
Thank you.
Chief Silva, can you tell me or tell us how many total units are going in?
Patrick can, he's been working with them, Patrick gave that.
The mobile for Hilltop? Is that?
For
what you're-
all the developments you just mentioned, which were quite a few, what's the total number of new units?
I'll have to add that up and get back to you. But
Okay.
roughly it looks like, I would say for homes or apartments, you're looking at probably about 150 to 200 mobile home spaces, maybe 50 to 75, somewhere around there. That's a very rough estimate.
So we're looking at, say, 250 equivalent of homes, give or take.
Correct, and that's accounting for also the RV park that is not permanent use.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Fire chief's report. I'm not sure which chief would be first up.
Throw a dart, which chief do you want?
Chief Fox,
Just a few things. First, I just want to commend Pat. He's been working without a fire marshal since Gary promoted it. And as you can see, has done a fantastic job of just not letting the ball drop in there, which is a tough job to do when you do have a boss, but without a fire marshal. I just want to say that.
Thank you very much.
A few things on the management admin side. We talked a little bit last month about public safety communications and the move up of engines throughout the district to provide coverage. Chief Silva and Chief West worked with public safety communications on modifying that move up plan. It's in place. They're just looking at kind of what the impact is right now. So we're seeing 41 pulled down a lot less to 40 when they go on call. What we're really protecting around is making sure that we haven't overshot the moves and that they're not coming down enough, and we don't get that covered. So we're very attuned to it. So far, we haven't had any major move up issues, but it's something we want to get precise, have the right engine in the right spot. I met with the new Sheriff's Captain, Rebecca Albin, a couple weeks ago, and just had a general meet and greet. We're planning on meeting monthly, just having coffee to make sure that Sheriff and Fire are on the same page regarding all the issues on the coast and that we have strong ties. We did send out those vegetation management abatement notices, those additional lots in El Granada. So I anticipate next month we'll come back with a contractor that we're going to be going with for those services. As far as personnel, hiring for new fire apparatus engineers will start next week at the unit level. We do have a number of positions here in the district that we hope to fill. Chief Silva is also working on filling the fire marshal position behind him. He's got a list of candidates and we'll be conducting those interviews. Hopefully, we'll have an announcement by the next meeting.
Yeah, 'cause we're interviewing 9th and 10th, 2 days of interviews.
So maybe
Might be
December,
close.
yeah, maybe December, an actual name. As far as outreach goes, we do have the Station 41 open house on Saturday, November 12th. I believe the fire marshal's office has asked to close Obispo Road for the duration of that event, so we can actually park cars. So close the road, make sure we have one side for parking. Closing the road on the weekend, I know is gonna be a big deal, but we have to have some more people to park, so we're working on that at the moment. Operations wise, we had a significant vehicle accident on Highway 1 up in Moss Beach, Monterey area. Just to note, we've had a lot of vehicle bicyclist accidents in the last week throughout the county. Kind of a very sharp increase in vehicles or bicycles for some reason. We had an unfortunate one yesterday over by the lakes, Canada Road in 92. As far as the training goes, the drone class, the training office hosted a drone training class for new operators for NWCG, National Wildland Coordination Group, required training for drone operations for fires, NWCG A450 class. It was attended by 12 of our own personnel as well as some people from outside agencies. That's the really important step. Once you get your license, you get the certification, you can actually be a drone operator. To go on top of the 3 drones that we have, the county was successful in a grant for 5 additional drones on the county side. And since we work so closely together, we essentially have 8 drones at our disposal now for use throughout the area. We also had a RIC class, rescue intervention class, and an advanced life support paramedic training class for our paramedics here today. As far as facilities are concerned, Chief Silva is working on a start date for the landscaping here. And he's also working on a document for an RFP for the fencing and kind of security measures around the station here as well, which we'll probably bring back next month.
Yeah, I received the plan for just a couple of corrections and we can present it before.
And the good news is we received our Starlink internet, satellite internet for this building right here this month. So once installed, if everything goes down on the coast, we will still have internet here with Starlink. It's a satellite-based high-speed internet. It's Elon Musk's company, Starlink. Everyone we've talked to who's used it have had phenomenal success with it. So it just gives us a level of redundancy to have internet here. Yeah, which is good news.
Maybe Musk should buy Comcast. Just saying, off the top of my head.
Don't tell anyone you know that we're gonna have that here. There will be
I second that motion.
We did have a couple follow-up meetings with Kendra and her team at NHAA, who's working on the landscaping for the north lot. We had the planners from the county Connects the Coast Side plan, who actually developed the plan for Connect the Coast Side. They looked at our plans. We have a follow-up meeting this week with the Department of Public Works, County DPW, to talk about the plan and whatnot. It really is boiling down to 2 things. Connect the Coast Side shows that area around our new fire station as a proposed area for a sidewalk. And our comments back to the planners were, cool, who's paying for that proposed sidewalk? And they said, well, there's no funding there for it. That's just a plan for when new development goes in, that it's kind of required to have that piece on it. So what we decided on is to come up with two plans. One is just everything that's within our ownership of the district, which is a little smaller than the actual north lot. The other plan would be our area plus everything that's a right of way. And then at that point, seeing if there's any potential funding beyond the district for the right of way to see if there's potential for it. That's kind of the route we're going, the two plans that we'll bring back to the district. It's good to know that everyone wants a sidewalk, but obviously it doesn't just happen out of thin air. As far as apparatus are concerned, engine 41 is back from annual maintenance. Engine 44 went in for annual maintenance. The ERV is being outfitted. 2 new Pierce Type 1s, still looking at an end of November delivery date, and engine 40 is still at the diesel shop getting its new engine. With that, happy to answer any questions or Chiefs.
Chief Armstrong, and Chief Silver, any comments?
We'll say it's really nice to see Patrick Hanna here. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I defer the rest of my time to Jonathan, which you used excellently.
Chief Silver?
I think Chief Cock answered everything for us.
Excuse me?
I think Chief Cock answered everything for us pretty well.
Okay. I have a question or a suggestion. The sidewalk question is on the plan, so this might be the time that it might be appropriate to have a letter from the district to our supervisor, saying that we need that for safety. You put the letter together, perhaps with Gene's help and so forth. But I don't know if you better give perhaps send it to the current supervisor and ask his intervention and help and try to get us. Can't be that much fun.
Yeah.
But I would think that a request to get some help from them would be appropriate to our supervisor. Always.
Yep, and Kendra's, as she's working on this plan, she's pricing out the two options, so we'll have a way to define them.
Okay, I would hope to do that. Expand a little bit on the open house. What's going to happen?
Yes, the open house is really just going to be kind of a show and tell of the whole facility for all of the community.
Yeah.
So it'll be open, everything will be open, bedrooms, apparatus bay. There'll be prevention material, new swag arrive for people to actually take something home from the new station or info about the district. All the apparatus will be there, staff will be there available. It's really just a kind of welcome ceremony for the entire community to learn about. The
How are we going to publicize it?
So it's gone out on social media. We put out a press release. We have also purchased an 1/8 of a page in this Half Moon Bay Review. And Cecile, our PIO, will also put it on, the next door platforms and make sure we continue.
Yeah, I would just suggest to do the other special districts around here, just a letter to them, inviting their board members to.
Yep.
To that would be.
You should do a banner also, right?
Yeah, I think there's a banner going up in front of the
Oh,
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Just, this is another thing when you talk about the bicycles, accidents increasing. Just an observation as a citizen is that, man, bicycles now, I used to know where the heck they were going to go, or where they're going to stop at a crosswalk, or where they're going to walk their bicycles across. Now, man, you don't know where they go. I mean, it's just whether there needs to be some additional training or laws or something, but it's not surprising to me that there's more accidents. I think they're going to continue with some kind of restrictions, or everybody understands where they're going, because I don't understand where they're going. Comments?
Yeah, just a quick question on November 12th, what are the hours?
It's 9 to noon. We're trying to beat the traffic. Is really the
Good
intent.
idea.
Chief Cox, can you speak at all to that? I just read it in the review, but the article about water safety on the coast, and, there were a lot of participants. Yeah, I know I saw several district vehicles down there, which I think is awesome. I think, we've talked about it before in other meetings about that cross training, sharing of personnel. Is there anything that came out from that you feel is an additional need from the district to be a better participant in that, or any blank spots? Anything?
Yeah, a good question, and actually a good point that Chief Silver and I talked about earlier this week. So that event, the water safety event, was bringing together the agency, state parks, fire, law, Coast Guard. I know our training officer provided CPR training as a class. Also brought in all of our equipment to show what our advanced life support capabilities are. The one thing that came out of it that Chief Silva identified pretty well is we're probably at the point that we need to explore an MOU with the Harbor District about what we do when we get on their boat.
Right.
Because as it is right now, it's kind of just a handshake. We'll take our paramedics a couple miles out to sea. And I think both agencies would be well served to have an MOU about what we do once we get on that boat.
Yeah, we discussed about some additional training on the boat as well, because I was on the boat years ago when the harbor master was pulling out, and he said, oh, I don't know if we should be pulling out of this, and I think he said it was 8-foot swell, 10 seconds apart, and we ended up rescuing a surfer that got pushed out to sea from Surfers Beach, but if one of us sort of gone overboard or something in those seas, like, I don't know what to do on that, you know what I mean? So like, we thought about that this week, we thought maybe there should be some, a little bit of additional training, and I had a guy that on my engine that was from the Navy, and we found the guy, luckily, I don't know how we found him, a mile out to sea, and he was swimming, he didn't have a surfboard anymore, it was a San Francisco police officer, actually,
Wow.
and his wife had seen his board wash up, and he wasn't with it, but the way the waves were, he had to swim out, and then he got sucked out. But anyways, somehow, miraculously, we found him. I thought I seen a seagull flying off, but it was him waving because the waves were like this. So I was just trying to not get sick.
Sure.
But we found him, and then the guy I had on the boat with me, one of the engineers was from the Navy. He goes, "What do we do?" And I said, "You're from the Navy, go get him." But anyway, we pulled him out of the boat and stuff. But I thought about it because the boat's like this, the waves are like this, and you know, if we were to fall in, like, what do we do? What's the training protocol with them? So I think some additional training, MOU, stuff like that would be great.
Yeah, and they require us to buy PFDs or devices for certain. engines
Yeah.
or certain
So they provide a PFT for us that activates you on the water or you pull it. But I was thinking of maybe even some possibility of some sort of jumpsuit, this is a survival suit that you could survive in the water for a little bit longer than, 30, 40 minutes, until that boat goes down. We gotta wait for the Coast Guard to get our guys. So that's cold water.
You can make 30, 40 minutes easy.
I don't know, man. I live in the valley, it's 80 degrees.
So our boat crews take safety lessons. The instructors talk about, okay, all you skinny guys, you're gone. You heavy set fellows, we're gonna find you and take you home.
Yeah.
Because that extra padding helps out.
I'd asked Bob Simmons about it before, being that he was a paratrooper in the Air Force and on a specialty team for years as a PJ. I said, what do you do in that situation? He says, well, when you're skinny and lean, you have to start swimming first. Learn to swim as hard and as fast as you can for as long as you can.
Bingo.
To keep your body heat. Otherwise, you're gonna die. That's what you're going to eat. So.
Any other good news you have?
Good. So we'll work on something with them and. we'll go from there.
And Gary, can I make one more observation
Sure, yeah.
before we close, is council talked about the changes that this district's been within the board over a period of time. And I came in today to the station and the observation, Chief Cox brought it up about the meeting, it was the paramedic meeting here, but there was so much going on in this building. Between 4 or 5 people in the prevention office, 17 was out there using the drill tower, paramedic training inside this classroom. Very impressive of the amount that goes on here daily. I don't think the public sees it, but again, the more that we share that, we're very visible, it shows, but I'm just quite impressed by what's happening. So thank you.
Right, thank you. Without objection, we are adjourned, and the board will go into a closed session, the conflicts with real estate negotiated relative to government code section 54956.8. Thank you all.
And do we stay at this same location, Jonathan?
Yes, Virginia.
Thank you.
There you go.